Hi, everyone. Karen Greenstreet here from the Success Alliance. And today we're going to be talking about different ways that you can add mastermind groups into your business model. I have a lot of really good ideas to share with you. Let's talk about three things. So the first thing I want to talk about is how much of your business revenue is going to come from mastermind groups, because that's going to affect the way you design your business model. The second thing I want to talk about is how big your mastermind groups will be. Will you have just one, or will you have many? How many people you have in a group? Because that's also going to affect the design of your business model and your mastermind group. And then the third thing we'll talk about today is how much time and energy you want to put into this. Either you're facilitating it yourself or you're hiring other people to facilitate your groups. Knowing how much you want to invest in this as far as your time, your energy, your resources will affect the way you design your mastermind groups and the way they fit into your business models. So as a facilitator, when you answer these three questions for yourself, then you're going to be able to design a mastermind group model that fits your goals for your organization, as well as serving your members the best way that you can, because that's what's really important. So let's first talk about the idea of your revenue, how much revenue you want to come from your mastermind groups, and the pricing of the mastermind group and how that has an effect, including the design of your mastermind group when it comes to the frequency of meetings and the length of those meetings. And so when you look at your revenue goals, you also want to be thinking about how is that going to affect your marketing goals? If you're trying to hit a certain revenue, how much marketing are you going to have to do to fill your groups in relationship to all the other marketing you're doing for any other products or services that you're selling? And so here's some design ideas to consider. So think about your traditional kind of mastermind group. And this is the most common mastermind group. It's 5 to 10 people in a group. You meet once a month, or maybe even once a week, once a quarter, however you want to do it. But you meet on a regular basis for a sustained amount of time, 6 months or a year, or something like that. Typically in a traditional mastermind group, meetings are relatively short, 1 hour, 2 hours, maybe 3 hours. And so that's one of your options. Now, if you want to meet less frequently, but have longer meetings, think about doing something that I would call a retreat mastermind group. Maybe you would meet once a quarter for a day or two, or you meet once a year for a week. The idea is that you would be deep diving into things and spending a lot of time working on strategy and planning and so forth. And then during the year, there might be check-ins, but you wouldn't have traditional mastermind group meetings during the year. So that's an idea for you as well. Another mastermind group model that might work for you is something that I call the sprint model. So the idea is that you're going to meet in a very intense period to start with. You'll have some time off in between to help people to implement what they designed in the first part of the mastermind group. And then maybe at the end, you'll do another sprint, another intense mastermind group meeting series. So that would allow you to follow up with people and answer any questions. So it might look something like this. Let's just say you're going to maybe the first 30 or 60 days, you're going to meet once a week. You're really going to do an intense mastermind, and they're going to work really hard on their strategy and their goals and their action plans. And then maybe for the next month or two, you only meet once a month, just sort of following up, maybe checking in through email or a message forum. And then you might do another 30 or 60-day sprint at the end where you're meeting once a week. And this is really good if they're working on projects that are going to take a long time, like say they want to redesign their website, or they want to write a book that sometimes they need a lot of planning up front. Then they need time to do the things they say they're going to do. And then they need some sort of follow-up at the end and to be thinking about next steps. So that might work for you. Now, these models are all well and good, of course, but you need to then see the other side of it. So the model works for you and your business, but will that mastermind group model work for your members? And so you need to be thinking about, what will they commit to? Will they commit to weekly meetings, or will they say they can't do it because they're too busy? I had a mastermind group once, and it was all new business owners, and they had an awful lot of questions because they're new business owners. Things come up very, very often. And so they wanted to meet often, were willing to commit to meeting weekly because they had the need for that. That would be true also in that same scenario of someone who's maybe writing a book. That first few weeks, there's an awful lot of decisions you need to make. And really anybody who's new to anything probably is willing to commit to more frequent meetings because they have a need. New managers, new parents, anybody who's starting something new just has a lot of questions. More experienced people or people who are super busy might not really be willing to meet weekly. And so that's got to be part of your design, is how often should meetings be based on what the members need, not just what you need. So when you're calculating your revenue, also put into that mix, are you running more than one group at one time? So if you're running 5 groups, if each of those groups is a day, once a month, that's 5 days out of your month that you're going to be busy, or you're going to have to hire someone to run these groups. And then there's all the prep work and so forth. And so when you're thinking about this, say, okay, if I'm running just one group, I can make some decisions that if I then want to scale and grow, those decisions might end up biting me in the butt later. So think about that. The next question you want to ask yourself is, how big is your group going to be? Because in a traditional mastermind group, you might have 4 to 10 people in a group. Now, some people want bigger groups. They want 20 or 40 or 60 or 100 people in a mastermind group. And I call these mega mastermind groups. And the idea of them is scale, of course, but one of the problems you have is, how do you get all those people in the hot seat? The hot seat in a mastermind group is the crucial component. People getting to talk about what their particular situation is, what their problem is, and having the group brainstorm with them. If they can't get that help at that intense level, if they can't get into the hot seat often, maybe your group is too large. And so you might be thinking about, well, maybe what you could do is, say you have 40 people in a group. Maybe what you do is you then break that down into small mastermind group meetings, 10 people in a group, 4 groups, and then they can all come together for certain other kinds of meetings, and something like that might work for you as well. Now, I know some people want to run these mega mastermind groups through like an online message forum. They're like, well, we're going to have a Facebook group and we're going to call it a mastermind group. And it could work if you were really a good facilitator, but it doesn't give you any space for people to really be in the hot seat, because it absolutely requires that the other participants are fully active and engaged. And I can tell you that many studies tell us that you're going to have what we call a lurker ratio, people who will pay attention to the message forum but will never participate. And that could be as high as 80% of your people. So you're going to say, okay, I have 100 people in a group on Facebook or LinkedIn group, and you might find 20 of them are super users. They're always out there asking questions and helping each other, and the other 80% don't. And so you need to be thinking, is that really serving that 80% who just don't want to participate that way? The other problem I have with it is that how deep can you go? In an online message forum, people, especially if they're typing on their phones, they're not going to type much. And so how complete can the answers be? So those are 2 things you really need to consider. And I'm going to encourage you to make sure you have some sort of live meeting where people can be in the hot seat for 15 or 20 or 25 minutes each to really get their questions answered. So that's size of group, revenue numbers, and how those things affect your models. The next thing we want to talk about then is how much time and energy and resources you want to put into this. If you are running these groups yourself, you'll be spending more and more time with your members as you have more and more groups. And so if mastermind groups are your only source of income, you have 40 hours a week roughly to go ahead and work with your members. But if you're juggling other things, say that you're a professional speaker, or you're a teacher, or you write books, or you have other ways that you earn income as part of your entire business model, you're going to have to think about, how much of my time do I want to devote to these mastermind groups? And so it even might just be that there are times when you're juggling a lot of projects. Maybe you're redesigning your website, or you're putting together an online class, and these things take a huge amount of your time, but for a short time, a few months. So if you are back to back with mastermind group meetings, how do you organize that? So pay close attention to how much of your time and your energy these mastermind groups are going to take, including your resources. Do you need to have a VA to help you to run these groups? Are you going to have constant website updates? You need to have your website designer do that. Will you end up hiring a facilitator to work with you, or do you have a partner that you're working with to help you run the meetings? Think about outsourcing as much of the administrative work as you possibly can, because that's going to free you up. So anything from follow-up communication to collecting your monthly membership fees, anything like that, anything you can do to simplify it, I think is really going to help you a lot. So as you can see, there is a lot to think about when designing your mastermind group and how it affects your business model and your revenue model. So think about these things in advance so that you don't get yourself stuck into a place where you have painted yourself into a corner. So ask yourself, what are my long-term goals? What are my long-term goals in relationship to my mastermind groups versus the other things that I'm offering in my business? What are my long-term goals for serving my clients? That's got to be part of the mix here. And if you take small steps in each of these directions and start asking yourself some of these questions, I think it's really going to help you. So I am wishing you many, many, many thriving and rewarding mastermind groups. If you want to get notified when I post a new video about mastermind groups, remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel and click on the little bell icon so you get notified. In the description area of this video, I'm posting a link to my free video tutorial all about starting and running mastermind groups called Speed Up Growth. I'm also posting some links to different blog posts that I have and other videos that I've created that you're going to find helpful when you create and facilitate your own mastermind groups. Drop a comment below in this video if you have any questions, or if you would like to suggest a topic for my next video.